Well, hi everybody, I'm Meteorologist Paul Gross. I want to put in perspective and really show you what was a very historic rain event that we had Monday night. Now, this is the radar from 10:40 Monday night, and you can see this area of rain here, and it's basically, here's M59 right here. So this was along and just south of M59, torrential rain, and what was unique about this was that the rain just kind of kept regenerating over the same area for a while before it finally started to slowly sag south. So this was a torrential rain event that went on and on and on. Now let me show you. Radar can actually estimate the amount of rain that fell. And so this is the Doppler radar estimate, and you can see right here, this area right here, this is 3 to 6 inches of rain here. And notice that this is also a very narrow band. If you look to the north and you look to the south here, there are lots of people who got no rain at all, and we needed rain. We just didn't need this much rain. So this gives you the rainfall estimate from the radar. But if we started getting reports from weather observers, and this one is the one that really caught our attention. So in Sterling Heights, a weather observer picked up 4.7 inches of rain, and notice 3-hour rainfall total. So that fell in only 3 hours, and that's going to be significant in a minute. Before we get into that, let me just show you some of the other rain totals here. So Sterling Heights, that's at 4.71. Clinton in Washtenaw County picked up 4 inches. Utica, 3.32. Roseville, 2.58. And West Bloomfield, kind of at the tail end of that band there, was 2.5 inches. By the way, I live in Farmington Hills, and I had only 0.41 inches of rain. But it's this Sterling Heights reading that really caught our attention, and I want to explain to you, we have, to put these types of events into perspective, there are what are called rainfall return frequencies. And what you do is you look at an amount of rain that fell in a certain amount of time, and then you can compute just how often or how rare or how common is that type of event. So 4.71 inches of rain in only 3 hours is computed to be a once every 500-year rain event. And if that sounds familiar, it was exactly 5 years ago this past Sunday that we had another once every 500-year rain event, and that was that great flood of 2014. You remember that one. And so we have now had 2 500-year rain events in 5 years. And it's not just us that's seeing this type of thing. In Houston, I believe somebody told me they've now had 3 1,000-year rain events, 1 in each of 3 consecutive years. So people are starting to ask me now, so how much of this do we attribute to global warming? Well, I want to make it very, very clear. Global warming did not cause the storm that dropped this rain. I want to make it very clear. We've had storms in the past that have dropped heavy rain, and so you can't say that global warming caused the storm. But let me give you an analogy. You remember the baseball players that took steroids? Okay, you remember Sammy Sosa and Barry Bonds and Mark McGwire? Listen, those guys hit home runs, and lots of them, before they took steroids. But after they started taking steroids, they hit a few more home runs, and the home runs they were hitting farther. So they were hitting more home runs and hitting them farther after they took steroids. With the warming of the planet, we are basically putting the atmosphere on steroids. We are evaporating more ocean water into the atmosphere. That is what storms turn into precipitation, both rain and snow in the winter. So we are seeing essentially more extreme events, and we're seeing those extreme events becoming more extreme. So Chuck Gatica liked to call them extreme extremes. We're seeing an increase in extreme extremes, and we've just seen that here. Here in our area, 2 500-year rain events in just 5 years. So that's a little bit of an overview of what happened last night, and to put it in proper perspective for you. I hope you found this interesting. Certainly you can always reach me here at the station, either on our Local 4 Facebook page or on Twitter, and I'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
And Paul, we saw the flooding in a small part of the area, but some parts are still abnormally dry, right?
That's
still waiting for
true.
rain.
Right. The drought monitor, which comes in every Thursday, so last Thursday's drought monitor has parts of our area, particularly in our north zone, up in the thumb, as abnormally dry. And so abnormally dry is just one step below moderate drought on the chart there. And so we have parts of our area that are abnormally dry, nearing drought conditions, and they didn't get a drop of rain last night. So it's really odd that we have a 500-year rain event in part of the area, and yet another part of the area is nearly in drought conditions.
getting a lot of comments. A lot of people are saying, well, I haven't gotten any rain. My grass is dying, and some people are saying I haven't been able to get out of my neighborhood today. So
right.
it's just crazy seeing that both sides of that in the same kind
that
of
stripe of rain. That stripe of rain that I showed you, it was only about 7 to 9 miles wide, and you saw it extended essentially almost the length of Macomb County and a little bit into Oakland County. So it was a very, very localized rain event. And by the way, that wasn't a surprise. I mean, if you were watching me this past weekend on Local 4 News, I projected this. I said this is going to be a localized event, and there are going to be areas on either side of these heavy downpours that don't get much at all. So it played out pretty much as expected. We can never, 3-4 days in advance, we can never pinpoint the exact location of where a band or where a thunderstorm is going to set up. But the overall expectation pretty much matched the reality that we saw. So this was not a surprise. It was quite an extreme event for that small area.
All right. Thank you, Paul.
You bet.